Hi, in today's video I want to talk about the basics of troubleshooting download speeds. I've seen a lot of people having problems on social media when it comes to setting up Usenet, and I will go over the basics. This will be a very fast video where I won't cover everything in depth, but this will give you advantage when it comes to googling your problem. Just so we're on the same page, let's go over a very quick overview. So you have your Usenet provider that's feed into your internet service provider, your house internet, your downloading PC, and then it goes into either NZBGet or SAB through like your system, your CPU, and your hard drives. So this video will cover mostly this side of the process. Just so we're on the same page again, what happens is if your Usenet provider can provide 100 megabytes per second and the entire way, the entire stream, you get that speed, but at some point during the process you have a 20 megabyte per second, that means your entire download speed will lower to that value. So this is important that you understand that every steps need to have the highest possible value. If we go one by one, so this is going to cover NZBGet and SAB setups. One point that is very important to understand is connections. What are they? It's quite simple. It's when you registered for a Usenet provider, they give you an amount of connection. That's what they advertise. Sometimes it's 30, 50, or 100 connections. It's very clear on their website. When you subscribe and your client page, they send you this information. What is counterintuitive is everybody thinks you need to put, for example, you have 100 connection, you need to put 100 connection on your download software. That is not the case. So how you will set them up is you need to start from a lower amount of connection and gradually ramp up until you find the sweet spots. So as I said, if you have 100, maybe your sweet spot is 30, maybe it's 55, maybe it's 12. So this really makes a difference. I know it seems very simple, but this makes a difference, and a lot of people having download issues go from here. And I will now show you where to adjust this on both SAB and NZBGet. So if you go into your SAB, it's very simple. You are here on the top right. There is a SAB config. Click on this. At the top, you have servers, and this is just an example, really. You go into show details, and you have your connection. Don't forget about hitting save. So as you see here, I put 50. This is really just this is a mistake. It should be lower than that and gradually going up. And after for NZBGet, so this is your home page. You go on top right, there's settings. On the left, there's news servers. You click on this and you have your server here. You go down slowly and you have your connections. So if you change something here, just make sure at the bottom left, I'm not going to show you, but on the bottom left, there's a save setting. So just make sure you hit that on NZBGet too. So yeah, don't forget to save. So this is really the first step, and it helps a lot of people. The second thing you want to watch for are ports. All right. So what happens is when you subscribe to a Usenet provider, they give you ports that you can put into your setup. For example, this is just some screen cap of providers. They have SSL ports and non-SSL. This is a complicated subject, but just very simple, basic. SSL is encrypted, so that means that every download that goes through that port is not going to be able to be seen by your internet service provider, and everything non-SSL can be seen by your ESP. So what I would suggest, real quick, this is where you will find those ports. Okay, I found this for those two providers. I found it on the web page, but sometimes when you register for one, they're not public. They just send you either on the registration email, on their website, on your user profile, or into how to docs. This is where you find them. SSL, what is that? As I mean, as I said, SSL is encryption. And what you want to do is obviously the first one you want to try. Personally, I think it's the 563 one. And if this is not giving you the best speeds, then you can try multiple ports until you find one that is best for you. Again, keep in mind that non-SSL will be unencrypted, so be careful with that. Obviously, you want to stay into the encrypted one. This is for the second provider, just as an example. They have those two, which is SSL, and those one are not. So you can do like it's trial and error. There's no like right way to do it because every provider has their own, and every client has their own setup too. And I'm gonna go. If we go back to SAB, it's the same place as before. So I'll go again real quick. You go here, you go to the config on the top right, you go in server, and for this one, you have to go on advanced setting. All right, so I'll just go, I check advanced settings, and when I go show details, there are much more details here, and you have the port. For my setup right now, which is just a test, I'm on 563, but I'd have to change like depending on what they gave me and save every time and make a speed test every time and see what works best for me. On nzbget, let me go back real quick. Discard change. This is your own page, so you would go to the settings again, to the news server, and then you'd scroll down until you see the ports. Here there's only one. This is 563, this is the default. You do trials and error with this one. Again, on the bottom left, which I'm not showing because there's confidential information, on the bottom left there's a save that you need to hit every time. And again, this is one of those things that helps people on their download speed. Right. For the next slide, I'm going to talk about more of this part. This is going to be an entire chunk of the process because all of this can be tested using one benchmark software, which I will show you. So the first one are storage and SSD and hard drives. What you need really is you have to understand that this can be one of your limiting factor when you download. This actually happened to me on one of my servers, and I think for most people it's what's going to happen because people are storing whatever they're downloading on Usenet on their hard drives. But you got to understand the hard drives have around 50 megabyte per second. This is very approximate, depending on the model and the cache and whatever. But this will be the speed that your hard drive will be able to get. So this will bottleneck your entire process. As I said, there's a software that can test this for you later on. So as of now, don't worry about it. We'll go back to this. The other bottleneck that can happen are older SSDs. I have one or many SATA SSD, or the SSD people tend to put into their old, software servers. They can bottleneck under heavy load. What is happening is when you download on Usenet, it downloads many files, and this is the worst kind of workload for SSD. So this can be a bottleneck. Again, we will test this later on. The system performance. So as I said, Usenet downloads a lot of different small files, and they have to take all of those files and rebuild, unzip them, rebuild the NZB, and rebuild the file. So this can be really taxing on your server, on your CPU. If your server is not strong enough, which we will see later on, this can be your bottleneck. The other thing that you need to take into consideration, is your house/PC internet. It's the bottleneck you want, really. So what happens, as I said in the process, is it goes through your ESP and your house internet, and this is your ESP bill. So this is what the maximum you're paying for, and this is what you want as a target usually. So how do you test all of this? It's not very complicated, and I will show you right away. So we need to go into SAB again. All right. NZBGet doesn't have this feature. Only SAB has this feature, as far as I know. So on SAB here, on the top right, you have a wrench. And if you click on the wrench, you have this interface here. And what you want to do is hit the little arrow here, and it will run a benchmark on your system. And I will show you after this is done what those numbers mean. So if we go back to the presentation, I've took those numbers and I pasted them into the presentation, and we can go over them again. Keep in mind that again, all of the process have a speed, and your maximum speed will be the lowest speed in every step of the way. So if we look at my numbers that came out of the benchmark, you see my internet bandwidth here. This is your house PC internet. This is your ISP. So I'm getting above 100 megabytes per second, and this is obviously the speed that I want. My complete folder speed and my download folder speed, as you can see, those two numbers are much higher than my internet bandwidth. So they will not be bottlenecking my speed. And my third point here is system performance. I have 500,000 points. You want above 100,000. Anything above 100,000 will get you good speeds. If it's under 100,000, you might be bottlenecked by your system performance. It's a mix of CPU and RAM. It's a bit complicated, but the number to keep in mind, and I'll say it for my fourth time, I think, it's 100,000. So as you can see on this setup, my lowest number is going to be my internet bandwidth, which is my ESP, and that's what I want. That's the number I want to maximize. If we go into, I will show you a bad example, a setup I had on my server which wasn't working right. So on the left, this is the numbers we just saw. So this is good. This is giving you a good results. But on the right, this is one of my servers that did not go well. I will show you. If we go real quickly, it says download speed limited by disk speed. So as you can see, we go to my download folder speed. I'm hitting 74, and my internet bandwidth, which is the same bandwidth, is 106 actually. So I should have much more higher, but since my download folder speed is lower, this is my bottleneck. As you can see, having a folder with lower speeds here, it makes this result a little bit weirder. So I will not think too much about this one. I'd focus on those. So here, if I had an amazing internet, an amazing download from my ISP, I'd never be able to have a higher number than this. And the other thing I want to say is this is for a test that is very limited on time. This is just momentarily. If you have, for example, downloads that will last hours and a lot of files, this will go lower than the amount here. So that's it for now. And the other thing I want to talk about, as we said, we went from the right to the left, from very common to least common. So this is, from my opinion and what I saw on social media, the least common things that can happen. Let's go over them really quickly as a checklist. You have your Usenet providers. Make sure your provider's maximum speed. This is not your bottleneck. Sometimes providers will run amazing deals where you have access to their database and with their Usenet, but they are pricing them cheaper, which is perfectly fine, but the speed is not unlimited. Of course, you are capped to maybe 50 or 10 or 12 megabytes. So make sure when you selected and bought Usenet access, you were not limited by that. Some providers have a speed time. What I meant by that, I'm really thinking about one, is sometimes they have a time during the day where you have unlimited speed, but only for a certain period of time. Again, this is not a scam. This is, from my opinion, a really good thing. It's just for them, they can offer a higher speed, for example, at night than during the day. So at night you will have higher speed, and during the day you have a lower speed. Again, for both of those things, this is always presented. This is not like hidden into like small prints. This is really presented on on their website. Provider quota. Again, this is always presented. I'm thinking about only one providers out of the many I know, which will, what happen is when you reach a certain quota, I think it's 5 terabytes per month or maybe 6 per month, they lower your download speed. This is written black on white on their website, and it's a good way to save a few bucks. So it's a cheaper plan, but it is what it is. So just make sure you're not in this case. Uh, Sometimes I have used many providers during a lot of tests, and sometimes the providers and the servers are just too far from your home. It's as simple as that. It's a physics problem. The amount of links and connection and jumps and whatnot will make that you're selecting a provider, they give you a server. Nobody's having a problem with the servers, but only you, because the distance is too high. As I said, it only happened twice during all of my testing, and those providers, they're not necessarily bad because it happens. It's just it's the game. It's what happened. If it happens to you, just request a refund and move on. There's no issue with that. Another thing to consider is the Usenet and provider world usage. What I mean by that, if as an example, Friday night might not be the best time to do huge testing because everybody's going to be hammering Usenet servers that night, and it really depends on providers and the amount of users they have and overhead. So yeah, and the other thing that can impact your download is ISP quotas. This is, I think, this is my personal opinion. This is fairly rare. What happens is your ESP will see that you download a lot or you download a very specific thing on your Usenet, and they will limit your bandwidth. This is very rare and kind of hard to troubleshoot for that. The other thing that can limit your bandwidth are VPNs. Depending on the quality of your VPN and whatnot, this can lower your bandwidth. You can do some research online, but most people, depending on the country you are and whatnot, will agree that if you download using encrypted SSL ports, then you don't really need a VPN. Again, if you find that a VPN is causing you trouble, do some research if you can. Simply not use a VPN when downloading from Usenet. If you want to test, for example, downloading not on a port with SSL and without VPN, what you can do is, for example, you go onto your SAB and you go to the top right, again, the wrench. You have those tests download here. Those are just empty files that will be here. Those files contains nothing, so you can test plenty of them. It doesn't matter if your ESP sees it or whatever. So those are perfect to test your download speed. The other thing is, as I said, this is a very well, not so quick, I guess, but it is a video that will only using the basics of troubleshooting for download speeds. I'm going to link additional resource in the comment. There's a lot of fine tweaking here that can be done to achieve the maximum speed. I personally don't think this is necessary. I don't think you have to go through all of this from the get-go. Most people will simply install SABs and install NZBGet and get like maximum speed. I would personally do all of the things I've said in my video before you go further into those higher advanced settings. But of course, if you can take a look, it's always good. And well, thank you. I hope this helped, and have a good day. Bye bye.